Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Bikini and the Brain. This one should be called Bikinis and the Brain. If you notice, we have an intruder in the middle here. Who is this intruder? This is, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, sure. So my name is Elizabeth Wang. I come from the Faroe Islands, and not sure if everyone has heard about the Faroe Islands before. It's some tiny islands right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. We're only have 55,000 people, so we're not many doing the bodybuilding lifestyle. So, yeah, I turned pro in 2021, and I've been working with you since October. So,
yes, yeah. And then also here, the other Bikini is just Ashley from Ohio.
Just Ashley from a place, this exotic place called Akron, Ohio. Few have heard of such a place. I traveled a long way from Akron, Ohio to Las Vegas, but I will always be an Ohio girl at heart. Midwest for life.
You guys probably have similar numbers of like 50,000-ish.
I don't think so, man. You think Akron, Ohio is like...
Isn't it? It's not
you
small.
always think it's like in the middle of nowhere. It's like I think the fourth biggest city in Ohio.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
pretty
funny.
big. I'm not saying it's Vegas big, but it's not like you think it is.
When you're from LA, all you do is you think there's like three cities. You think there's like LA, New York, and like Houston.
And everywhere else is like a farmland.
You're like, yeah. What's funny, when I moved from LA to Denver, my friends were like, what are you going to do? You going to like get a horse? Like you're going to start like mountaineering? Like I don't even know. I'm like, I don't, you know what? I'm like, no, dude, it's like a major city. They're like, so I think that way too. I do kind of think Akron is.
I know. You even say that. I noticed you do that about Ohio too. Like any place that like a girl's from like a small town or just like in the country, you'll automatically label it, she's from Ohio, thinking that it's like a correlation. It's like, I know it's not like Vegas, it's not like LA, but it's not. I mean, we have farms and stuff. We have Amish people, not in Akron, but in Ohio. But there's a mix. You know, there's farms, there's cities. I mean, Cleveland, Ohio, I hope you've heard of that place, right? That's a pretty big city. So, you know.
That's pretty fun.
But still exotic.
I'm like, oh, you're from Ohio? You probably know my friend Ashley. Yeah.
You guys might be related, you know.
So Elizabeth, so her name is spelled Elizabeth, but you can call her Elizabeth.
yes,
But there's no H at the end of it, so that's different.
true.
You speak your own language, from what I've heard, in the Faroe Islands. There's like a very limited amount of people that speak this.
True. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we're only, as I said, 55,000 people that speak the Faroese language.
Oh, wow, that's cool. I never heard of this. Faroese. Faroese?
Faroese. Yeah.
Faroese. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so cool. So let's give our guys a little bit of history of Elizabeth and the purpose of her being on the podcast today too. Okay, so we talked about the prep house all-in thing, and then we had the catastrophe at the house. And I was like, okay, I have to remodel the house now, but we still want to go through it. That we have the house empty for a little while, so let's have Elizabeth come down. She's there with Tina, Tutu Tina, if you guys know. That's Ashley's client. She's there. They're staying there for 2 months to grow as much as they can within the 2 months. So it's almost like this growing experiment that we're doing, where she's working out twice a day. She's doing these really hard lifts. It's a fun experiment. We're seeing how much her body can handle, of course. I mean, I don't expect her to not go through some pains and whatnot over those next 2 months. But so we're going to talk about, going through it and kind of like, what we're trying to accomplish, and her being here, of course. But yeah, she is a Bikini Pro. You got your Bikini Pro card where?
In Norway, actually.
Oh.
So I have been competing since 2016, actually. And just going for the pro card, of course, for several years. And then in 2021, like competitions, like we don't have that many competitions in like Scandinavia, especially NPC. So now it starts to grow, and 2021 they had one in Norway and in Finland as well, that I did. And in Norway 2021, like September, I earned my pro card. So it was not a huge show, like, because it's like not that big in Scandinavia, the shows yet, but it was a really good show.
And I'm sure that the COVID was affecting show numbers overseas a little bit too at that time.
Probably, probably.
So So now, you know, we've been working together for a little while. We said, hey, you got to grow a little bit to be competitive in the American market. And that's what she's doing. She's out here growing, and she plans on coming back out after she goes through this and competing in the American market sometime later on this year. And yeah, that's basically the plans so far. So as far as you, how are you liking Vegas, by the way? So, you know, just because you came from, you know, a smaller town. It was funny because when she was coming over, I was like, I don't know if she's like a island girl or if she's like a farm girl. I don't know if she's like, she's kind of from a city. Is she a city? Like, I have no idea what type of like, what to expect.
You know, whenever she said she was from an island, I think I automatically assumed, and I think most people like think it's like some tropical place. I'm like, oh yeah. And it's like, no, it's like cold, I guess. So yeah, I didn't.
Very cold. Yeah. Like right now it's, yeah, so we use Celsius degrees, so I'm not sure what it is like in Fahrenheit, but it's snow and it's storm, like very, very cold. So this is actually like the weather here is a good summer for me, actually.
It's
so,
not even
like
the best right now. This is disappointing weather for Vegas, I must say.
Ashley likes the heat. When it gets hot, she likes it.
Oh yeah, because I'd be up at like 3 a.m. or whatever, walking to the gym. It's nice and cool when it's that early. But yeah, I like the heat.
I don't know what the Celsius is, but it gets to about 115 here ish.
I've seen 119.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I see 119 a few times.
Yeah. There's a period of like, what is it, Arthur? July time? July where it's like, it's over 100 for like 3 weeks straight ish. Yeah. 100 degrees.
Oh,
so
wow.
it gets pretty hot, but you know what's weird is it's so dry here and you get used to it too. It's not like when I was in Denver, even though it's dry in Denver, it was like 90 there, 95 there was like the same as like 105 here. So yeah. And when it gets cold here and it's colder and if you go to California, Southern California, and it's, let's say 55 degrees there, it's colder there at 55 degrees than it is here, like at 45 degrees, 40 degrees, just because of the humidity, the moisture in the air.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That was actually quite interesting too, because I felt like the first week, my nose was just stuffed. Like, because it was so dry and my lips were like, how do you call it when they get so dry? Yeah. Because it rains almost every day, I want to say, back home. And like the humidity is probably
it dries you out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably just our pollution clogging your nose. We're definitely like we're like not quite China, but we're like halfway. We're like pretty bad out here. There's so much people like in such a small area. So how was your first impression anyway, going to Vegas and seeing this trip? I remember she flew in and I was like, let's go to the Vegas trip. And she was like, no, I've been trying to get her to go out and do like Vegas stuff. She did go country line dancing.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
But what was your first impressions of Vegas coming from like the small island?
What should I say? Like, I have been traveling a lot, like during the years. Like, I have been backpacking. I have been to Japan and like all the way to Thailand and stuff. So I have seen big places before, like Tokyo. So I would say if I hadn't, it would probably be overwhelming.
Yeah, this is a lot like Tokyo. This I would say.
Yeah, kinda. Except like Tokyo is like, sorry, but it's very clean. Yeah. Like in Tokyo, I think compared to here. But yeah, like flying over, like when I came here New Year's Eve, right? So like flying over Las Vegas, it was kind of like this overwhelming feeling, like, whoa, this is quite big. So I think my first impression is good. I think people are really nice, and it's nice to finally be here.
Yeah. I bet you it's a big difference in like the culture and motivation, because me and Adam both say like Las Vegas is the new like Venice Beach, whereas like I feel like California and LA was like such a big hotspot for bodybuilding community, and now you see Vegas here has so many like bodybuilding gyms. There's so many Olympians that live in Vegas and so many like bodybuilding focused, gyms, and there's a lot of shows that go on here in Vegas. So how is the motivation here in comparison to the Faroe Islands?
Yeah, definitely. I will say it's I haven't even like given it a thought about like motivation, just because it's just there, I guess. I'm not sure if it's because like coming out here and working closer to you guys and like gives a motivational boost, but definitely seeing all the people that are like now, for example, living with Tina, and she does the exact same thing. Like we weigh our food and like we just get each other. It's very different compared to back home. Like I would say we're maybe 5 people in the whole country right now, like competing.
Oh, really? Are you the only pro?
I'm the only pro living there. Yeah, so
how cool.
it's really cool. But as you say, it can be difficult to keep up. Like it's quite
Like people
lonely.
probably don't understand. Like, why is she bringing Ziploc bags of food with her? Like, what? Why? And people probably be like, "You're too skinny. Oh my gosh! Like, what are you doing this for?"
Yeah,
You
like
know?
definitely at the first, like to begin with. I think now, because we're such a small country, I don't see like super many people. So I like the people that I go around with are the same. So now after a few years, they know that I bring my, my lunch boxes and
Okay.
and everything. So and they support me like big time. Like so that's really nice. But it's. Yeah, it is different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like even getting your hands on like proteins and other things like that. Do you think it's difficult, like with protein powder and like pre-workouts? Like, what is this foreign substance? What is this? Like, since you don't, I'm assuming you don't have as many like nutrition stores, if any. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
No nutrition stores, no GNCs.
We do have them inside of gyms. Like,
Okay.
Like I work at a gym back home.
Okay.
And we do have like not as many brands as here. Like we do have Optimum Nutrition and stuff. But here we have been to this like supplement store, and it's like getting into like a candy shop as a kid. And it's just like whoa, like yeah, nothing compared to back home. So yeah. So it's really cool.
Is like, as far as like if you order something offline, is it easy to get delivered to you? Like if you wanted to order protein or whatever off of a website, how does the delivery work there?
It is easy, but it's usually
Takes
quite
a long time?
expensive.
Oh,
yeah.
it
It takes a long time, and it's expensive because of, I'm not sure what it's called, but like if it's over a specific amount of payment, we have to like pay to get it out.
Okay.
So it gets easily quite expensive to get supplements and stuff.
Okay.
It's not like us
Yeah.
over here. I'm like, if I order something on Amazon, I'm like, seriously, I have to wait till tomorrow? Like, what are we doing here? Like living in a third world?
Yeah, you can go into gas
Wow.
stations and get like pre-workouts, and you can get protein bars at gas stations. They're everywhere, you know?
Yeah, it's actually that happened because I got the new puppy and she was chewing on everything, and I was like, oh, I'll order her a chew toy. And then I was telling Kimber, I was like, oh, it won't be here till tomorrow. Because I ordered it too late. I'm like, it's so inconvenient.
Well, we can easily wait up to a month, like
Yeah.
until we have our stuff.
If something
but-
takes longer than a week at this point, I'm like, I don't even remember ordering this. Did you order this or something? It was so funny. I'm like, oh yeah, I ordered that a long time ago. It must have been just like sleepy or something. So obviously you had that. But eating everything over there, healthy wise, food wise, is pretty simple, right? It's just usually pretty regular stuff, just regular. But it's all, as far as your food goes, it's no hormones. Everything's organic type of scenario, like a lot healthier food. I found that in other countries that they have a lot better selection of quality in their food than we do. We have to go to like a specialty store. It's real expensive, and over there it's just kind of the norm. Is that the same scenario?
I would say, I think so, yeah. Everything is pretty fresh, especially like the fish. I had
Makes
this
sense.
fish, like seafood sponsor, which was really nice because, yeah, we are islands and our main industry is fishing. So we have a lot of fishermen and stuff. So the food, especially the seafood, is super fresh.
Ashley would hate that. Ashley hates
I don't
seafood.
know.
So you have a fish sponsor? That's
Yeah.
so funny. We have like the polarities here. We have like someone who's like anti-fish and then a fish sponsored athlete. You're the only fish sponsored athlete I've ever met.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I think. I want to get a
I feel
sushi
special.
sponsorship. That'd be dope. So anyway, going into, so you're out here, you flew in, Tutu Tina came a week later, and then you guys have been working out, and basically it's kind of like you guys are getting along quite well and just checking out different gyms and getting into the culture and whatnot for the most part. What's your experience been like with that so far? With the, obviously, it's kind of a cool scenario. You have like basically a live-in workout partner for a couple months where you guys can push and eat and have fun and kind of learn Vegas. So how's that going for you so far?
Yeah, perfectly. It's like a dream come true, I would say. It's weird how good we actually get along. Like, it's like we're the same mind, just in two different people.
Yeah.
It's really nice, yeah. And, you know, we just respect each other's routines with the food and everything. And then we hit the gym, twice a day, which has been really nice. The early, like, we do a morning workout, get the body going. Like, we're both kind of in our zones, but we're there together and pushing each other if we need it. Then we get back home. Yesterday I took a nap, like, in between the workouts, because it's a lot of work. So everything that we do is like planned around our workouts. But it's cool. There's like a bodybuilder dream. And then later on we hit the gym again. And if it's like hard because you already have been working out, we have each other to like push each other, and we just get each other. It's been super nice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It's like such a great opportunity, you know? I think it's like a lot of people don't realize how much of a kind of like maybe a risk it is to leave your home life, right? You were working at a gym and you're taking this as like, hey, I'm taking this once in a lifetime opportunity, which is like the title of the podcast, I believe. But you know, you're taking this and you're like, I'm going to make the most of it. So it's a bold thing to do. But it's kind of cool to see you like giving it a go, you know?
Yeah.
It's got to be a little, I guess, weird for you, I would assume, because you're used to doing your own routine on a day-to-day for years in your home. And now it's like you're in a completely different country doing like 2-day workouts. Everything's different. A little bit of a culture shock, maybe, I'm assuming. But it's cool that you went for it. You just like, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm all about like opportunities. Like, as you like say, do all the crazy stuff.
Oh, do all the crazy things. Yes, that's one of my sayings. Do all the crazy things.
And I'm all about that too. Like, it's a huge investment. Like, I had to quit my job and stuff. So I feel like it is a huge investment, but you know, I like it when it's like high risk, high reward. And you know, I can always go back home if
It's not gonna. You're young. It's not gonna be a time where you say, "I wish I didn't do that." You know, you're not gonna like walk away and be like, "Man, I wish I wouldn't have like spent 2 months in Vegas making new friends, traveling to gyms, working out all the time, and like seeing what that real in-depth prep life is like really like." Because you're living like basically you do this like a professional athlete for a living right now. You know, which is really cool. You know, housing is taken care of. Everything's just like you're just living and doing the bodybuilder dream, which I think is. I wish I would have had that when I was younger. To have that would have been really cool to focus on. And you see a lot of these, you know, bodybuilders, they kind of live that type of lifestyle. They go to places. A lot of them are coming to Las Vegas now too. I don't know. Have you had a chance to go to any of these other gyms like Fit Club or Dragons yet?
No, we've only been to the LVAC yet.
Okay.
That was a cool gym, but we have it planned to go like all the cool places too.
Yeah.
Like all the other cool places. Yeah.
Well, let's plan out maybe Friday or something. We'll all go to LVAC or something, or Fit Club or something. I like Fit Club. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that.
Now that you're not, because you got sick. So she was here, she got sick. And so we haven't done much because she got really sick for like the first week she was here. She was supposed to do the podcast last week, but was sick. And we're not sure if it was just food poisoning or getting used to the food being different or what, but she's better. She's good now. So anyway, along with that, now we're going into the kind of the meat and potatoes of everything. So this is what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to grow as much as we can within the next 2 months. So she is in a caloric surplus. You know, we talk about this often, and growing is something that I think people underestimate how many calories they should have. Now, Elizabeth is going to be a bad example of what I'm talking about, but to grow optimally in terms of muscle growth, you know, you don't need to overshoot your calories like crazy. Everyone thinks you need to overshoot like crazy. You know, you need to find what your maintenance is and overshoot those by like 100, maybe 200 to really optimize your muscle gaining, because you're not going to grow at the rate of like 1 pound of muscle a week. So in a scenario that she is, we're really, really shooting for it. So she's a few hundred above her calories because of the workload that she's doing on top of that. Her calories just happen to be really high, but we would be the same result. Like if it was Ashley doing this, we'd be probably in the 2,300 range. It wouldn't be anything crazy, you know, like, and right now Ashley's kind of at maintenance calories, maybe pretty much maintenance calories around 2,000. So that's probably where she would be. And so Elizabeth, where are you at now calorically?
So I'm at 4,200.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a lot of food.
Yeah, it's crazy. And people are going to be like, oh no, she's not. Like, I've been doing her nutrition for months. Like it is there. It is what it is. I don't know how she ends up that way. I don't know why some people end up that way and some don't, but it's just the good thing is, and I will say as a coach, never have any preconceived like notions of where calories should be. Just let the body tell you where they should be, and let the body just organically tell you what to do as the check-ins go. And as the check-ins started coming in, like there was a point where she lost a lot of weight at first, and then we were like, raise the calories.
Yeah.
And then now we're here and we kind of figured out where her base is, and now we're looking at it based on her workload. And so her calories are a little bit higher. I would not recommend 99% of people to go to that 4,000 plus calorie marker as a 125 pound girl. It just doesn't, it's not a normal thing. But in her scenario, that's what she needs to be to grow. And so now we're going into these 2-a-day workouts. So we can kind of go into these 2-a-day workouts and kind of explain on how you're feeling with that and how it's all going.
Yeah. It's going great. So the first workout in the morning is kind of like to prep the muscles for the heavier load later during the day. It's not to say that it's an easy workout. It's higher repetitions, getting like a pump, and stimulate the muscles. And then we rest for at least 4 hours, like to get the body ready again. And then we go through the same muscle groups later during the day, but just heavier and more brutal, if I can say it that way. Yeah. So oftentimes it's like the same exercises, but like different rep ranges and different goal. So yeah, and it's been working really good actually. I really like it's weird when you come back 4 hours later, and like I notice it really in the leg extension. Like when I have the leg extension in the morning, and you get this metabolic buildup, and get it like to rest, and then go again later on heavier. It just feels ready. It's a really cool feeling. Like you have to experience it, I think, to feel it. They just feel prepped and ready, like the muscles. So it's been really nice. It's been kind of tough, like some days. Like as I said, yesterday I had to take a nap in between the workouts because when I got home, I've been through a workout and I was tired, and then I took a nap for like an hour. But then when you hit the gym again, it's totally fine. So yeah.
So now along with that, so we'll go into kind of like what that's doing. So the goal of this is to kind of get the nervous system primed and get the motor units, the muscle, just basically everything really, really active. So you can try to get the most neuro activity out of that muscle that you possibly can by priming it in the morning. So you're kind of like waking it up, stimulating it. And in that 4 hour window, it seems to be kind of that like optimal time to go after it again. So you're going back in the gym when everything's like ready. And I guess it's kind of like giving the muscle caffeine, right?
Yeah.
And the muscle's like stimulated and really responsive to working out. And then you hit it with a heavy load. And then with the heavy load and the muscle firing in its optimal firing abilities, right? So it's called potentiation. So this thing called post-activation potentiation, which is basically you activate the muscle. After it's been activated, it's going to be a higher level of potential of recruiting as much muscle fiber as possible. So then we're hammering it with heavier weights, and we're trying to see what that does, trying to see how much we can get out of her. Now, the thing is, we're really, really reaching when we do this. You're really going after it. So I would never recommend this in a caloric deficit for a long period of time. Maybe if you're stuck in a plateau, or you're trying to get ready for a show and you're like 6 weeks out and nothing's moving, just do that for like a week. But you're gonna really go after your nervous system. It's not gonna recover the same rate as your muscular system. So the muscular system will probably be fine. The nervous system, though, we have to keep an eye on that. Her feeling tired, her losing strength in the gym, her not sleeping so much, and her being really tired but not able to sleep. Like there's all these things that we have to be aware of when you go into something this extreme, and you're not going to do it for a very long period of time. So in this example, she's living the bodybuilding life for 2 months. basically eating, sleeping, resting, working out. That's basically the life. So we can try to get away with it for 2 months before needing like a break. But even then we might need to take 4 days off at a time here and there, just depending on how her body is responding. And so far, so good. And Ashley kind of went through a modified version of this not too long ago with the shoulders. We're going after the shoulders pretty much daily for a while. What was your experience with all that?
It's a lot of time in the gym. 2-hour workouts. But it's nice to switch it up, I think. Obviously it's not something I want to do for too long because of the reasons you mentioned, but also because you do get a little bored with it sometimes. So it is nice, you're training one certain way for a long time, and then it's kind of refreshing to switch it up, right? Increase reps, lighten the weight, go longer, go harder. So, in little spurts, I think that's great because not only does your body benefit from it, but your mind as well, because we can get very much in our ways sometimes. If we're not careful, we can fall into the trap of like doing the same workouts over and over and just going through the motions at that point, right? You're just in the gym, kind of like when you're driving home, right? You don't really think, oh, I got to make a right turn here, a left turn there. You just do it, right? So that can happen in the gym too. If you don't like switch it up, you can just go through the reps without necessarily paying attention to the intensity and increasing your, strength and everything like that.
So what else have you had experience-wise with this, Elizabeth? How's the soreness been? How's the recovery felt? Like, where are you at with it all? Because how many weeks? It kind of sucks because so the whole thing is we're trying to collect data, right? So we tested her metabolism before. We have measurements and weight starting from before. But we're the 1 week that threw things off, obviously she was sick. So we weren't even sure what the food consumption was because one, not all of it was staying in. And two, like even just eating that much food when you're sick. And that's the thing. These girls are like, oh, I wish I could eat 4,000 calories. And I'm like, no, there's not a girl who eats that. Because I've worked with tons of them that have eaten over 4,000. I've had a few get to 5,000. And I've never had someone say to me, man, I really love eating all this food like 5 months later. It's always like, how do I continue eating this much food? Is there any tricks around it? It's never like oh, I love it. But I do have the 2,500 calorie girls. They're always like, oh yeah, this is fine. I'm full. I'm not eating too much. Like that's like seems to be the sweet spot. Yeah. Where they're like, you could have a cheat meal in there and it still doesn't affect you that much. The thing is when you're at 4,000 calories, a cheat meal really doesn't affect you that much because you could have, 2,500 free, clean calories that day, all, chicken and rice and then one big meal. And you're like, it won't affect you at all. But if you're eating 2,500 as your max and do a 1,500 calorie free meal, then that's like, it really adds up. So that's the one benefit there. But as far as, okay, going back into your soreness, your fullness, your recovery, how's everything going with that so far to give these people who might want to be doing this for a short period of time some insight to it?
I would say it's been going really good. But as you say, it's like I'm here just living this lifestyle of a bodybuilder. I prioritize very much my sleep to actually get enough sleep to go this hard. So I've been sleeping, like I can easily sleep 9-10 hours a night.
Wow.
And I'm a good sleeper, if you can say it like
so
that.
Jealous.
You guys are the like opposite. Are you guys even from the same planet? Like it's like an anti-fisher, anti-sleeper.
Yeah, I don't sleep that much. Unfortunately, I'm not a good sleeper like you are, even though I try so hard. And it's so funny because people will like DM me like, have you tried like melatonin? And it's like, no, I've never tried that. Like, believe me, I've tried it all. I'm just not a good sleeper.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
I'm really, really thankful for my like sleeping gifts. Like I can sleep everywhere.
It is a gift. It is a gift. That's true.
Yeah, so I've been prioritizing my sleep very much. Like now that I've been here, we've been going for 2 weeks, and like in regards to the soreness, I have been like quite sore to begin with. I think it was like, I don't know if you can call it like a shocker, like shocking for the body to begin with, to get into the routine of training twice a day. Like the first time, because usually when I have one workout a day, I would train, I don't know, around noon, be finished at like 2 or 3, and then like call it a day. And now when I did my first workout, I felt, okay, yeah, call it a day. No, actually I have to like rest for 4 hours and go again. So that was something that my mindset has had to get used to not like go into rest mode, but just rest and then go again. But I would say my body adapts really well to new stuff. And when I can work and plan everything around the workouts, it's been going great.
Yeah. So this is a fun experiment for everyone, for you, for me.
Yeah.
Seeing the data, like, because usually when I'll give a plan out, you're just hoping it's executed the right way. But here it's like physically can see it happening. I know you're in the perfect setting for it. So I know like if it's going to work, it's going to work in this setup. Your sleep, your eat, your everything, workout partner, everyone's keeping each other accountable. Like we can see everything. And then once we see how it's really working for you and how it applies in the bikini world, then we can start using it for more people too. So it's really cool to see. And I think no matter what, we're going to maximize muscle growth no matter what. So if anything, does it need to be pulled back a little to still optimize the same results, that type of thing. But yeah, this is an old school bodybuilding approach that some guys have done and had great success with in the past. And this is just the kind of the bikini model of it. So yeah, it's funny how things change with like the more advanced the athlete gets, and you're starting to see that in all sorts of the wellness division really created a lot of that too for women to see how much volume and frequency they can handle, and a lot of the girls in Brazil are really pushing stuff past what studies have shown. You know, they just naturally were already doing that, and we're like, wait a minute, you're training legs every day, 6 days a week, and they're like, yeah, but one day I train a little bit more front leg. One day a little more back leg, and then glutes are pretty much every day. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're training? What are you doing? And how do you look? Like, wait a minute. Okay, so obviously half the country is training this way in Brazil, right? And they all look with these huge glutes and huge legs. And I'm like, okay, so obviously it's not hindering their muscle growth. Where's the limit? Like, where should we apply this to bikini? And so it's kind of cool to see that frequency and what the abilities are, the more advanced the athlete becomes.
I think it's I think a lot of our listeners out there are curious because you didn't mention it. Cardio, what's it like? Are you doing it? Are you not doing it? Why not? Give us the deets.
Yeah, so actually I've not been doing quite a lot of cardio like ever. I was self-coached like up until my now October, and I've not been using cardio quite much. As you know, like I'm over a 4,000 calorie eater, so my metabolism is quite high as it is. But we are doing 3 times 15 minutes like during the week on stairs, actually just to keep the body like moving and going. So that's nice. So 15 minutes on stairs. Yeah.
Not bad.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
So I know it's like still too far in advance because you're going to be here for 2 months, but are there any specific shows like on the radar that you have your eye on, and are they in the USA or are they overseas or what?
To be honest, I have put everything in Adam's hands. I don't know. Adam has to.
When do you want her competing? I mean, it's a lot if it's going to depend on what she looks like at the end of this, but in an ideal world, what is her competition layout going to look like this year?
Well, the good thing about her is that she's not the type of person who needs a lot of time to prep for a show, because she does stay pretty lean, and we're not letting her get soft. Like the whole purpose of her being out here isn't to do some dirty bulk and gain a bunch of body fat. It's to maximize muscle growth, but not go past the point where she still needs more than 6 weeks to prep for a show, 8 weeks to prep for a show, because that would be stupid of me to do that, right? It would like, there's never, and just so you guys know too, in terms of bulking, like even if you're lean bulking, there's never been a gram of muscle gained more because a gram of fat was gained. Like those two don't correlate. So there's an optimal amount of muscle you can grow with calories, and then past that is just gaining body fat. So it's not like the gaining body fat helps the muscle growth. The only reason you gain body fat is because you're trying to shoot for the most amount of calories you can consume without gaining body fat. And anything past that is energy storage, and that's body fat accumulation, right? So we're trying to be smart and go right to that limit where she goes just maybe a little bit overshoot and gain a little bit of body fat, because it's impossible to find the perfect target amount of calories. So we're not going to dirty bulk. We're not going to go like, oh, now she needs 20 weeks because we gained 30 pounds of body fat. So if you're out there and you're kind of like, oh, I was told I have to bulk and I have to gain fat to gain muscle, like you don't need to gain fat to gain muscle. It's just a kind of a byproduct of trying to shoot for the most amount of calories you can eat of gaining muscle, right? And no one knows that true number, and you're always going to probably overshoot just a little bit because there's no way to know that for sure, and you want to meet those energy demands. And optimize muscle growth in a scenario like this. But bulking, that's not a thing. That's honestly a thing just so people can give themselves the excuse of eating whatever they want and being soft in the off season and not really paying attention to it and being like, oh, I'm just bulking right now. And I'm like, no, you're high in body fat. That's not bulking. That's totally different, right? You have enough energy reserves where you don't need to be eating extra calories at that point. Your body will find a way to nourish itself and feed that muscle with how much body fat you have at a certain point, right? So anyway, that being said, I think that right now, if we were to say, okay, you need to do a show, you would need like 2 months, 6 weeks, 2 months to like really get her shredded for a show. And so if her shoulder, and it's only just her shoulders really, I think she needs a little bit more glute width, a little bit more shoulder width. And then really she's there. I don't think she's far away from being competitive at a American pro level, to be in that first call out on a regular basis. It's just, she needs a little more shoulder right now for that to be the case. So at the end of this, in the 2 month period, will she have enough? I think it's 50-50. And then if that's the case, then we would need, the soonest we could do would be like 8 weeks from there, I think would be the realistic scenario. And then we start looking at shows. But I mean, with this year's Olympia qualifications, like ability, the shows or the availability, it's not, the window's a lot shorter because it's happening, like the window gets cut off really quickly compared to last year, which was 14 months long. The window this year, I think, what do we have? Is it 9 months total or 10 months total time frame? So it just got cut. It got cut shorter because of that. So, yeah, it's something we're gonna have to definitely talk about at the end of this, where she's at, but hopefully really quickly after that, hopefully the first show we look at, cause you're done in March, be like, you start looking at shows in like May or June.
And just go on maybe like are you coming back to the USA and just going on a run of shows, or?
That was the plan.
That's the plan.
Yeah,
okay.
like later on.
Right. It could always change, obviously, but I was just trying to pick your mind a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, Adam, but I met her in Spain when we did with Alicante Pro.
Yeah, I did. That's when we were talking before then, and then we ended up training like right then after that.
Yeah. So it was nice to meet her. I thought she was a lovely girl, and we were chatting backstage. It was a long wait backstage. That wasn't my favorite show. It was a little bit unorganized, but it was nice to meet you there, and I put in some good words for you. You know what I'm saying? But I thought you were very, very sweet. So, and you had an awesome physique as well. So
yeah,
thank you so much.
Structurally and insertion wise, like she has all that pop. She's got the structure, she's got the insertions, everything's there. The muscle bellies are round and full. It just needs more overall fullness for her to be complete. So
yeah, it's a struggle out there in these bikini streets.
The fullness of these bikini streets, man. It's rough out there.
Yeah, it's rough for me too. That's I guess, we kind of have the same goals and same things we're trying to work on, I guess, but going about it 2 different ways. I compete a lot, so I can't really sacrifice taking that much time off and doing it, but it'll be interesting to see how much you grow.
Yeah.
I might be inspired to do the same.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It's cool to see like 2 different approaches too, because obviously you being, like humbly saying, you being number 3 in the world, you're very close to how much muscle you need to get to the next placing, right? You're very close. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense for you to take, 4 or 5 months off and totally recomp your whole body. Like it would probably hurt you to change your body too much at this point than to change it a little bit, right?
Yep.
And that seems to be the case. Once you're getting those high placings, like when you go through a big change, people tend to go lower, not higher, right, in placing. So for you, it's like micro change. And then for you, it's like, no, we need to get you in that group first.
Yeah.
It's like a totally different approach. Like, no, we need a big change. We need to get you in that group, and then we start doing the micro changes. So it's cool to see like 2 different approaches. And I mean, 2 completely different people in terms of fish eater, fish sponsored, sleeper.
And she eats probably over twice as many calories
over twice
as me.
as many.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and are we like the same height, 5'5" I know you have a different metric system.
Yeah, so we use like centimeters, but I think
are we the same height, Adam?
What is that? Arthur's doing the math. What's the centimeters on?
I am like 166.6.
And how much do you weigh? That's another. Are you in stones or?
Oh, we use kilograms too.
So but you said you're 125. Is that what you said, Adam?
What? Yeah, she's 5'5".
Sure. So you're my height, 5'5" and you said, I think Adam said 125 pounds, or were you just estimating?
I think I was just estimating off the top of my head. What was the kilograms right now?
So right now I am like 59 kilograms.
So 2.2, 59 times 2.2. So yeah, there you go. 130.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you're
But
about 10 pounds heavier than me, but you're you're deep into off season,
Yeah.
and I'm like
Yeah.
about to compete.
Yeah.
As always. What am I not about to compete? That's the question. So I'm like 120 right now.
Yeah. So, and the difference too in the off season, she's 100% full. And even though Ashley is full right now, she's still probably not 100% full, even from probably the Olympia, even with eating all that food. It takes a while to like fill up all your glycogen stores and overeat and all that to get there. And it's just, we're not going to probably have that availability for a while, probably because it's just because the shows are always kind of somewhat near. So yeah, it takes a little while to get that. That's why I think like when you look at, I mean, I don't know what his plans were, but like when you look at Nick Walker jumping into the Arnold, like it looks like he just jumped in last week. I'm thinking he's going to be very similar to like, he's going to be very full going into the Arnold, because if his intentions weren't to do the Arnold, and his intentions were to go into off season, he probably did fill out 100% at this point. So I don't think he's gonna be able to knock his fullness all the way down in this time frame for how muscular that guy is to come in. So he's gonna be, I think, fuller and a little bit bigger, and it's gonna maybe be a better look. Who knows? So it's kind of cool to see.
It will
like,
be interesting.
yeah, unless he's been planning it the whole time, we're just waiting to get that prize money jumped up, which would have been super smart if he did. Like, hats off to him if that was the case, because it worked. But no, so I'm thinking, I'm really curious on how that one's gonna go, because I've never seen such a big guy jump into a show in that time frame thinking he was going to be in off season. It's kind of a cool thing.
Like, just kidding. Now we got to start cardio again.
I mean, he's like 260. Like, how long does it take to deplete a body like that? You know, like pure muscle mass. I don't know if 6 weeks is enough time to go through all that, you know? So I think he's going to be fuller, and we might even see a freakier one, which I'm actually really excited about, because it's like, that's like the experiment part of it, right? The experiment part of it's fun to see all these scenarios.
Yeah. Like you say, every prep is different.
Yeah.
You know, it certainly is.
It's so annoying. It's so like,
there's no true recipe. You just got to play it by ear.
I used to go off recipes and like try to go off recipes, and it was fine at like at the amateur level, NPC level, you'd come up with like a peak week, and you're like, oh yeah, and you're like, this peak week worked for her, let's do it again. And I was like a local level hero, like smashing Colorado. But then you like get to the upper level and you start seeing the differences, and Bikini Girl started getting leaner and harder and more full, and you're like, now it's like, dang it, every single day is different. Like every single day this peak week is different. There's no recipe ever. So it's kind of cool it keeps you evolving, like how you guys got to evolve as a athlete. I got to evolve as a coach too. But it's fun, because I used to think that way. I was like, oh, well, once I find that this works for someone, it'll just work that way all the time. And now it's like, nope, Ashley's like going into a show with no cardio. Oh, Ashley's going into a show with 45 minutes of cardio. Oh, Ashley's doing carb reloads, 200 carbs a day before the show. Oh, Ashley hasn't seen a carb for 2 weeks. Like, what's going on?
We never know. You never know. It's like a week by week thing you have to evaluate, because it's not always going to work like that, And even this off season, Adam is like, this is a different off season than what we're used to. I don't know how to explain it. I'm at the point right now, I'm like, it's, I know you say the set point theory isn't true, but I feel like I'm disproving it in a way, because I feel like it's like I'm not really budging much. I didn't budge much from after the show, and I'm eating a lot more. I don't know. It's not a real thing. That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense on paper, but there's so many things that don't make sense.
Yeah, and there's a lot of factors that are into consideration too. So.
When a few years back, we're talking like 10 years back, Ben Pakulski was like testing this theory and trying to stay around 6% body fat. He seemed to be somewhat successful at it, right? And so the problem is you're never going to get find a mass group of Ashleys and Ben Pakulskis in the world to do a 100-person study. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to happen. So some things are just going to come off. What's funny is I find that meathead science, right? We call it like meathead science, like oftentimes is so ahead of the science, because they don't have the data to pull from, that like 10 years down the road, they're like, oh yeah, they're right. And I'm like, I should have paid attention to that. So as I got like older and done this more and more, I used to be just science. And then I started seeing this happen over and over again, where like the meathead science, like the bro science would be right. And I was like, dude, these guys figure it out. Like they figure it out, and it might seem stupid, but I'm always like, okay, let's look at this objectively. Like who did what and what happened? And then I'm like, okay, well, I mean, can't argue with the results, right? Just like the Brazilian girls, right? Can't argue with the Brazilian girls having way bigger legs and booties, over there than we have over here. And that's why wellness got created basically over there. And then now what are they doing? Okay, they're training this way. Okay, so that's obviously working. On paper, with our studies, it shouldn't work, right? But I mean, I can see them, right? Something's working. So it's like, okay, where can I find that ground, the middle ground, where I can make sense of this And I think that's the funnest part of bodybuilding for me, especially as like coaching. Cause like I was telling Arthur the other day, like if I didn't love this stuff and it was like the stress, cause it's stressful to do this sometimes, but the fun of it is so much greater, like the learning of it. Cause I was like, you know, if I wanted to, I'd just buy an apartment complex and have 20 units and just live off that for the rest of my life. And I'd be totally fine. And I can do that next week, you know, no problem. But the fun of this and like what it gives you and like the especially you guys being the athletes and like getting to try new things and try new approaches and see how far you can push it. And it's just so fun and rewarding, you know, I love it so much.
Yeah. I'm sorry it caused you so much stress, Adam.
No, believe me, if it was too much stress, I'd be done.
I feel like I'm a major contributor to your overall stress.
No,
because I compete so often. That's why.
It's fun, actually. It's so fun.
But
it's
it is
a time
stressful.
of my life.
I even get stressed out too. You know?
My only time I'm stressed with you is when we're not ahead. When we're on pace and your body's usually, because your body usually responds, but when you get like a week behind and it's like a big show, then I'm like, I hope it doesn't just, because if we're like a week behind, we need to catch up, right?
Got to pray to the gods at that point.
I'm like, her body better respond. There's a very few times where it needs to respond. Usually we're like, oh, if it doesn't respond this week or responds okay, no big deal. But if it's like 4 weeks out from the Olympia and I'm trying not to like let you stress because I know you're like 5 days behind on my time schedule, and I'm like, shit, now she looks like 9 days behind. Like her body better respond this week.
Yeah.
Like and I see your check-in come in, and your check-in has like a blue flag on it, and I'm like, I'm like shaking to open it.
Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness!
It's very rare. It's like twice a year where it's like that. Yeah, it's like they're out there though, or like where I'll try something on peak week. It was fun when you try things on peak week as like a coach and it works, but it's like, it was super risky. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to load this girl. She's flat. I'm just going to load her with like 400 carbs. Let's just see what happens. And it works. You're like, yes. But when you say 400 and you're like doing it with confidence because you think it should work, but you know in the back of your head, it could go miserably, right? It could go terribly. Then it works. But those are the stressful moments because you're waiting like a whole, like, you're waiting like 4 days for that response. And you're like, okay, she's holding water now, but is it going to go away? Okay, it's got to go away. Those ones are stressful too. Yeah. So it's not just you. I take some risks too. I've always liked, you're the same way as me though. You're down to like take a risk, you know?
Hesitantly, yes. I give you pushback sometimes. Yeah. Like, no, Adam, too much carbs. I can't. Oh my God, I'm gonna spill. I'm afraid of carbs, you know?
You are.
I'm only afraid of carbs like during like close to a show, like in the off season, or I don't even if you call it an off season. What's an off season? Yeah. But when I'm not close to a show, I don't mind carbs. But when we're in that like 2 week out and we're getting, I call them the devil's macro for a reason, because they can make or break you. You can look a lot better, but if you spill, then you look like you're 2 months out, not 2 days out. So they scare me sometimes. And sometimes I push back and be like, Adam, I don't know. That makes me nervous. You
guys ever see those like movies where there's like a devil and an angel on one shoulder? Hers is like a rice with like a little pitchfork on one. And then there's like an angel rice. And it's like, just it'll be fine, Ashley. You just love me and eat me. And the devil's like, don't do it, Ashley. I'm going to make you fat. and then we get the email. I don't know, Adam. I don't know. I feel pretty full.
Yeah. You know, as an athlete though, like I need to listen to you, and I know you're the expert, and it's also, I have to also take a step back sometimes. I realize I have competitor goggles, which means like, if for those of you that don't know what I'm referencing, like when you're getting close to a show, you're hypercritical of yourself. You'll be like 1 hour, you'll be like, yeah, I'm ready. I look good. And the next hour you're like, no, I'm a little soft right now. And then you wake up and you're like, no, I'm too lean. I'm way too lean today. And then the next day you're like, no, I'm too soft. So you just like play mind games with yourself basically. So I do get the competitor goggles, as most people do. And they like hyper analyze themselves, even though they probably look the same. But I will do that. And then that gets in my head sometimes. So I often second guess myself too. So it's important to have like another set of eyes to kind of talk me down. Like, no, Ashley, you're where you need to be. Or you're not where you need to be. So, you know, that's why having a coach is great.
Bikini's tough with that too, because it's so easy to overshoot and it's the margin is it's so slight, you know?
Yes.
It sucks because in bodybuilding, it's like if you think if I'm a coach and I think you might be a little soft in bodybuilding, I'm like, whatever, just get her leaner. Who cares, right? Because it's not like they're going to be like, oh yeah, man, he was way too lean on
Yeah,
that bodybuilding stage.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
To
But
be
if
too lean.
you're like a coach for Bikini and you have Ashley and you think she's too lean, you better be sure you're right, because you're going to have to soften her up. And that, as soon as you go to that point of softening someone up, that is all on you. That is all on the coach's eyes, right? And that's where things become like real. You need to be really confident. And that's something I used to struggle with, where I would be like, okay, do I really think she's too lean and I need to soften her up? Because if I need to soften her up or tell Anya she's too muscular, I need to pull her back from her workouts. Like, you better be damn sure you're right, because that's on you now. If you didn't get lean enough, that's kind of on both of you, right? It's like the metabolism didn't work. Like, your things were harder this prep. Maybe you didn't give it all your intensity, whatever. But so it's kind of on both. But when you soften someone up, you're like, that's all on you. You better be right. So especially like you're going into here's the thing about gaining, because you're in a bulking phase right now.
We don't use that word.
Oh yeah,
the B word. What is that?
The B word.
Arthur, you gotta censor. You gotta censor that in the post production. We do not say the B word.
We need a coin jar in here. Let's get a coin jar for bulking. And
beep.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you don't have the censor sound effect. We need to install the censor sound effect. So whenever you say the B word, I just beep.
Yes. We call it main gaining, right? Maintaining your body fat, gaining muscle.
I like that.
Yeah, right. And so shout out what Greg said on that one, right?
It's clever.
Yeah,
I like that.
Whatever you say about his foot, because some guys hate his like voice when he's in the podcast. Some guys love it. I like the guy.
him.
I like him, but he does come up with some good stuff. Harder than last time. Zeto, like he got some good. I'll give it to him. Greg, you're doing a good job. But with you going into your main gaining, right? You probably feel softer all the time, because whenever you're full of food, you always naturally just feel like you just feel fatter whenever you're full of food. Like even when I was gaining strategically and I'm just full of 4,000 calories, like I just feel like my waist is wide and I feel bigger and I just don't feel good. So I don't know if you're feeling similar at that too, or
I do. And to be honest, the past couple of days have been like quite of a mind battle, because I know it's good for me and it's where I have to be, but I don't know, when the eyes have seen the stage presence and the stage lean, the eyes just like it somehow. Yeah. So it has been a bit of a struggle, I would say. Like my stomach is quite full the whole time, so my waistline is wider, and like when I just stand, it is wider. But I know it's where I have to be. Yeah. So yeah. So
Ashley says she likes being like stealth.
I like to be lean. I love, some people hate being like stage lean. And I know almost every guy will say, oh, I like you better softer. I like you better off season. But I'm saying from my standpoint, I love being stage lean. And here's why. I feel like when I am like stage lean, it feels like I'm just like walking on air. I'm gliding through the room effortlessly, like my thighs are not touching. I'm light, I'm fast, I'm stealth, I'm aerodynamic, I can jump higher, I can run longer, I'm faster, and I like that. And I don't have to suck in, as much.
Yeah.
I like clothing, like how it fits me when I'm stage lean too. Like I'm not afraid to be stage lean all year round. Well, I shouldn't say that. I prefer the look of stage lean all year round. Some people don't.
Yeah, I think that's good too. It's good and it's bad to like bring that up. That the guys will say, you guys will like.
Yeah, it's true. That I get it.
It is true. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, girls would say the same though.
Would they?
I think so. Like if I saw,
I didn't know that.
Well, listen, I think most girls would, if we're looking at bodybuilders and they're like all crazy vascular lean, I bet you most would be like, I prefer you when you're a little softer rather than this crazy like buff dude. Like, but I mean, if it's men's physique, maybe not so much because it's not that crazy. But I would say bodybuilders probably, I like you better when you're like 2 months out. But it's not, not as big of a deal from a girl saying that than the other way around. I think 99% of guys will be like, I like my girl better in off season.
Yeah,
and you're one of those.
I fall into that category too. Yeah,
shame on you. Shame on you, Adam.
Into the category.
You're discouraging getting lean.
I think there's a double-edged sword, right? Because one, who cares what the guy's opinion is? Do what you want in your own body, right? But two, at least the girls like, no, you don't have that pressure to always have to be that lean. Guys actually like prefer a little softer. So there's both sides of that one.
that's
There's
true.
both sides of it. So I just like that you mentioned that, because it's one of those topics that I'm going to dodge, because there's never going to be a win for me as a guy having my opinion. But but it is good for women to hear that from, coming from you. She said it, not me. Coming from you, you gotta dance on eggshells around that one, Arthur. I've learned that lesson.
Oh,
That, these days,
hot take.
Yeah, because what'll come up is, Adam makes her say, because whatever, his wife stay lean. That's gonna be one of those things.
It's
Ashley,
all by
you
choice.
know how it is these days.
I do. Everybody will
So sensitive,
spin
right?
it like how they want. You can take any clip and make it into
Right.
however narrative you want.
Yeah. But I do like it. Yeah, it's so for girls who feel like that pressure of like looking like whoever, stage lean because you think it makes you more attractive. Generally, guys do like a little bit softer like that.
Yeah.
I
think it's probably biological too.
Yeah, you're probably right, huh?
Yeah.
We're all such just like prehistoric like animals at a certain point, right? It always comes back down to that. So anyway, this is fun how our topics, our podcasts like just mutate into whatever topics.
Oh, yeah.
So all right, in summary, we got to fill this, kind of go into your experiment. So far, obviously we haven't had the best week. But in the first couple of weeks you've had, what have been your overall thoughts of everything in terms of your gaining? Like, what have you seen visually on your body, your weight, all those things? Like, how are you feeling on how that's going, so people can have kind of a realistic expectation? It does suck that you had that really bad week though too, but you did still make some good progress. So how's that been so far?
Yeah, like if all the way from the start.
Yeah. Well, from since you being in Vegas.
Since being in Vegas. Yeah. So yeah, I had the digestion issue for like, I don't know, a week, but now it's getting better. But since I came here, the volume has been a lot higher, obviously. But my volume was quite high when I was back home too. Like before we started working together in October, I was self-coached, and I thought I was doing, quite a big amount of volume. But when we started working together, the volume went like way higher, and kind of a different working approach. But I was totally ready to just put my process in your hands and just, there's a lot of ways to roam, as we say back home. So I just trusted the process, and I started seeing results pretty fast. Like as you say in the beginning, I kind of lost a little bit of weight because we had to find out where my maintenance were. Yeah. So since we started working together, we've been increasing calories almost every week, I think, except twice or something. So I have been seeing a lot of process in, I think like the shoulders and especially like the glutes, because the glute volume has been quite high. And since I came here, the weight has been going up a bit, which might be because of the digestion issue too, but we will see for tomorrow's check-in. But I do see, well, I don't know if it's possible to say that I do see something already now in like 2 weeks, or if it's like placebo, like that I know we're working a lot and working hard. But I think it's like the glutes are, I would say I kind of see some kind of progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably fuller and more dense. The only hard part of it is that you also will have, because you're doing so much volume, that you're going to get some more inflammation built up, and you're going to get some natural water retention around the muscle too. So it's hard to fully say. Yeah. But I guess for people who are watching this, we're going to do kind of a before and after the 2 months too. So we're going to do some measurements, and we have a starting point of the measurements, and now we're going to do the after point. So I guess stay tuned for that in the in I guess 7 weeks time frame. Yeah. From now, because you're leaving when?
I actually have to buy my ticket.
Oh, okay. So like I know it's around March.
I just came here and then figure it out. Yeah. So. And
so, are you going to go to the Arnold too? Are you going to the Arnold or no?
Oh, I don't know. I would love to though.
Is it on the way home?
It's probably not
because it's on the East
home.
Coast. I would assume it is. It's on the East Coast.
So Ashley's thinking maybe you book a ticket.
If you wanted to, you can make that your last. It's nice to break up a really long trip, in my opinion. So if you, it's like on the East Coast. So if you're heading east that way, then it would make sense, because going to Europe, you always go east.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I would love that. I've never been to like such a big show. Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah, it's a fun one. I like the Arnold a lot. It's fun. I got my little Arnold routine down. I know all my spots. I know like where to walk, and I know it's kind of cool to be there. And Phoebe's going to be coming in probably, I don't know, sometime between. She hasn't given me a final date yet, between 1 and like 3 weeks before the Arnold, I think, and she'll be staying at the house too with you guys. So
cool.
Yeah, so she'll be there.
I didn't know that. I love that.
Yeah, she's gonna give me I don't know the final date, but I know she's coming a little bit early. She's gonna use up all her days. She only has 6 months she can stay in the U.S. and she like lived at that house. Like she lives there more than me, that's for sure.
It's getting good use.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good use. We're gonna have the meeting with the contractor again tomorrow to hopefully figure out this remodel thing so we can do the prep house thing. But we're taking advantage. I think we're doing kind of a mini prep house, which is cool. So anyway, with that, I guess any last questions you have for her, Ashley, before we head out of here on this podcast?
I don't have any right now. She was a great guest. Thank you
Yeah.
for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. Like, to be honest, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm just so thankful, I guess.
I love
for,
it.
Like, for being here, like, because I've been watching you guys like since the beginning, like since the potato stuff and everything that you've been talking about. So it's been really cool to see.
That was just me being cheap is really what it was. Like I had the money since then, but what was I? Why didn't you just tell me to stop being cheap, Ashley? You're like that's so.
I think I tried to like mention a few
just tell
times,
me how it is. You're like you're like, you know what I mean? We're like family. You just tell me out of you being a cheap ass.
Well,
buy a nice camera.
The actual first episode we've ever had, I booked someone like an Arthur, not Arthur, but someone like him to set it up nicely and get the audio correct. That was the first one. So I got to say, I did my part.
You did do your part. You showed me what it was like. I should have just done it from episode 2. That's so bad. Anyway, sorry for your ears about those earlier episodes.
But that's good content in
not
those
Ashley's,
episodes.
not Ashley's fault. That was me being cheap. After like 100, I was like, I think we're going to stick with this. I was like,
No, I've learned so much. And like looking back, if I would have known that I would sit here like a few years later, I would not have believed it for like a second. So this opportunity is just so crazy. And yeah.
I love that you are grateful and you're very appreciative. Like, you know what I mean? Never take it for granted because it's kind of cool. Like, it's almost like, I don't necessarily believe it, but you know how some people be like, you think it into existence or you speak it into existence. It's kind of like what you did.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, really. So I'm trying to like be this because I guess there is some like probably a lot of other girls like living out there and having the same dream, like the Olympia dream and the bikini dream as I do, as I've had for several years. And I really want to show too that like how it's possible and that it is actually possible. Because it's a long process and I would never have believed it for 3 years ago that I would actually sit here. So yeah.
Do all the crazy things.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's important for people to realize too that it took you time. You said you've been competing since 2000, what?
Yes, actually since 2016.
Yeah. So I think people need to understand that part of it. And it's weird because our sport is so different in terms of like professional sports. Because if you look at professional sports and you look at like NHL or NBA, like I grew up playing with like 2 of the guys on my hockey team became NHL guys. So it's a good example. When I was 12 years old and I played at a really high level of hockey, Team USA, everything. And so when I was playing with these guys, like we all start super, super young. You start like 10 years old, 8 years old, like some younger. And then the 2 guys that went pro on the team, Gabe Gauthier and Ryan Holwig, right? The Kings and Rangers they went to, they at 13 years old, their family like didn't even see them for like months on end. They like would send them to camps overseas and like they would go to this special hockey school and it was like so extreme. And like I didn't do that. I didn't have the money to do that. And it was like they were like groomed to be perfect hockey players. And they got to the NHL and they were like, okay, hockey players. They were like, they're no Wayne Gretzky's or anything, but their whole life was dedicated to it, right? So when you see something like that as an athlete, you're like, man, it takes so much to be a pro and they're so unreachable to like even kind of see. But if you're a bikini pro, you think you're like, oh, I just see that bikini pro working out at my gym. I can do that, right? And it's different because the access is different. Like you don't see Gabe or Ryan like at the gym. And they're like, oh yeah, I started playing hockey 3 years ago, and you don't realize like it's still professional sports. It's still going to take everything from you. It's still going to take a lot of time to get there. Just because you see that girl at your gym who did it in a few years doesn't mean that you have the genetics to do it that quickly. And it might take you. What are we at now? 7 years for you?
Yeah, I started working out at the like regularly at the gym. Like even before, I've been an athlete my whole life. So, and I started going to the gym regularly in 2014. So that's what is that?
9 years.
9 years.
So
Wow.
just so you guys know, like take that into account. These are professional sports. Maybe you don't need to do something as extreme as the Ryan and Gabe thing where they went away, but you kind of are doing it, right?
Yeah.
You kind of are doing exactly what we talked about. And it does take, it takes more from you, and you have to be understanding that, you better be willing to give that if that's the result you want. And that's the problem that we run into, I think, in our sport is that people want it right away.
Yeah. It's like their first year of training, and then they're like, yeah, I want my pro card this year. And I'm like, well, it's unlikely.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's not the route that 99.999% of people go. It's not like that.
It's rare. Yeah,
very rare.
It's so just take that into account. I think that's a good lesson for people to learn too. Like you got to keep going for it. You might be at year 3 and not doing so great, and maybe you're just getting on the national stages at year 3, and you're like, oh, but my friend, whoever, or like example would be like Anya. She got her pro card like a year and a half after competing. Genetically, she just put on a lot of muscle really quickly. Most people don't do that, So, it's very, you have to just listen to her story, understand it's going to take some time. Genetically, metabolism wise, she's totally gifted. Muscle insertion wise, totally gifted. In terms of building muscle though, she's pretty average, I would say. I would say you're pretty average at building muscle. Ashley, same thing. Ashley's pretty average at building muscle. So structurally, all that, genetically we can go into that stuff. But, most people are average builders. It's going to take years. So I'm really glad that you at least talk about that too.
Yeah.
Because it is an important thing for people to understand. Like you might be getting frustrated right now. You might be at year 5 and you're like, I'm never going to get this. And just understand like most people don't get it at year 5. Like it takes a while, especially with today's standards of bikini. They're leaner, more muscular, more balanced than ever. So So just to, take your time, but remember, just always give it your all, because you're not going to get there ever if you don't give it your all. You do have to give it your all. And I think that's something that you could be a testament to too, is
for sure.
You're super dedicated on you never have off plans. You're never off your plan. I don't think you've ever given me one check-in except for you being sick where you've been off your plan.
No.
So.
Yeah. And no, I'm very like self-disciplined, and I think I've always been, but it's also something that you like learn and grow in. Like cheating on my diet would be so weird for me. Like, no, I've never. And I think it just had to become like a lifestyle. And as you say, actually, to like speak it into, what did you say?
Speak it into existence?
Yeah, speak it into existence. Yeah, like before I earned the pro card, I had to like set my mindset to, like this was something I heard Celeste talk about too. Like, but well, how does that pro athlete actually live? Like, how does actually live her life? So it had to become like my lifestyle. So now when people ask me, oh, well, when do you have like time off? When are you going to have time off? And like, time off from what? Like, this is my life. It's not something that I have to, like, I don't take off from my life. And that's what needed to happen, I think, before I took that step. And I'm not even close yet to being where I want to be.
There's a saying in boxing that goes, you got to be the champ before you can beat the champ.
Yeah, I love that.
I think that is something that exactly applies to our sport too.
Yeah.
And is you got to act like a pro before you're a pro, and that's the reality. The only way you're going to get to that pro level is when you are acting like you're already there and you're treating every single day like it is. You got to be the champ before you beat the champ. You got to act like a pro before you are a pro, and that's your every single day thing. You can't just all of a sudden start acting like a pro after you're a pro, because you're never going to get that pro card. Like once I'm a pro, then I'm going to be dedicated. Then I'm going to do my proper supplementation and eating and workouts. But until then, no big deal. I'm like, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck on that national stage when 50 other girls have been living and bleeding and sweating and doing everything they can and sacrificing. Good luck with your 90%, because people think 90% is enough. And I'm like, 90% will never give you 90% of the results. 100% will give you 100% of the results. Anything less than that, it's a far margin below. 90% will probably give you 30% of the results. It's not like 90 gives you 90. And that's the funny thing I get from people too that want to go pro. They're like, yeah, I'm pretty good, but during the summer, I work out when I can. I don't give as much. I'm like 4 days a week, and then I just kind of, I macro track here and there, and I kind of eyeball. And I'm like, good luck, dude. Good luck, because this is professional sports. I don't care what level it is, and if you happen to see pros at your gym and it seems super accessible, it's professional sports. And we're talking about at the highest levels, there are millions of dollars at stakes. There's contracts, there's supplement sponsors, there's total lifestyle changes. You can travel the world for free. There's a whole bunch for grabs here, and people are going to sacrifice for that. And if you're not willing to do that, then good luck, because there's too many people out there that are, So anyway, I guess that's my motivational slap.
Yes. And before we end the podcast, where can they find you online if they want to follow your main gaining journey?
Yeah, sure. I am trying to get better at creating content and stuff. I really want to grow like my YouTube channel as well, and show how this dream of bodybuilding is, like living in Vegas and just living the dream. And now that I've said it out loud, I really have to do it. But I'm most active on Instagram, and that will be Elizabeth with an S and without H. So Elisabeth. Vang, like VANG _IFBB Pro. Of course, that was the first thing I did when I became a pro.
Standard. You have to.
The same night. So yeah, that's where I'm most active and trying to show. I have been asking what people want to see, and it's mostly, of course, the workouts, when it's twice a day workouts, and the food. A lot of people want to see the food, and I get that. It's quite a lot of food. So
yeah, I think that's the funniest thing when someone gets a high calorie person, they want to see the food, or any person, they want to see the food. I'm like, what does it matter? That's the one thing I don't get.
I'm with you. They're like, what are your macros? It's like, I don't know. You do the math.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's like it just doesn't.
It doesn't translate to you.
I can follow your plan. I can follow your YouTube, watch your daily eating. Yeah. And I can follow her YouTube and be her daily eating. It's besides it being fish, it's the same proteins per meal, and it's just more volume. And it's it still doesn't apply to you. So I just don't get that one, but whatever.
Yeah.
Each his own.
Yeah. So, I guess it's just interesting to see the lifestyle.
Yeah. And I did it too. When I was a bodybuilder, I did the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess also how we prep the food, because I am a really easy prep food. I only use salt on my food, nothing else.
Oh man, Ashley's salt and fish.
Do you boil your meat too? Gross.
Ashley's not coming over for dinner for sure.
I put all the seasonings on mine and all the condiments, and it's very tasty. I even put stevia on all my meals. Even if it's chicken and broccoli, I'll put stevia.
Ashley's coming over for dinner. You just need stevia, mustard, water flavoring, and 7 different sugar-free options. And she'll pick one of them. She'll be totally happy camper.
I'll probably mix them all.
You could use, but with Ashley, the good thing is, with Ashley, you could use the cheapest meat you could find. It doesn't matter. Yeah. As long as it's lean, and just give her the condiments, and she's the happiest camper. She'd rather go there than Barry's Steakhouse.
Yeah, I want to lick the plate. I want to lick the plate without judgment.
Yeah.
I know how you feel. Yeah.
I just want to be casual. That's why I don't go to Equinox and stuff. It's not my vibe. I want to be I'll go Planet Fitness, looking like a homeless person walking in doing my cardio. I don't care,
So anyway, well, thank you very much. We'll be hearing more from you before this is done, I'm sure. And thanks for being here. And I guess, guys, tune into her channels for more updates and whatnot. And thanks for tuning in. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.